Hi everyone, my name is Nitya and you are at my Flosstube channel, Daybreak Stitchery. This is a channel all about cross stitch. I love cross stitch and I have tons to show you, so I think we're just going to get right into it. The only tiny thing I was going to show you is I have a picture that we just took the other day. We have our first sunflowers in the garden. So for my stitchy friends and for some of you who've been following me, you know, I moved last summer. And so now I'm in a place where I've, like, for the first time in my life, had a garden, which has been amazing. It's been an incredible experience, something whole new to learn. And I'm figuring things out all the time. And it's any kind of greens. I feel so grateful to have green space at my home, but I also feel extra grateful for all the green spaces, public parks and things that I've had throughout my life, so that I've always sought out green space, and now to have a patch of that at home is just wonderful. So there's a little peek at our first sunflowers that came in. I love stitching flowers, so I love garden-y kind of motifs, so it feels great to have actually something in the garden to reflect that too. We didn't think we would get sunflowers this year because our first sunflower that had a bud on it was bitten off by squirrels. We've had squirrels wreaking havoc in our garden, so we were sure that was it for all of our sunflowers, so it's really great that this one bloomed this month, and I wanted to share it with you. I've been trying to find joy. If you watch my last video, you know, I've been trying to find just joy in small things, joy to keep me going, joy to keep me hopeful. My garden plays a big role in that. You all play a big role in that too, my stitchy friends and new people who I meet through stitching. So thank you for being here. Shall we get to some stitching? Because I stitched on so many things that I love this month, and no finishes, but I do have whips and I have a couple of new starts to show you. So let's get going on that. I'm going to grab my whips. I'll be right back. Okay, first up is, you're going to recognize this from last month. This is a collection of small motifs that are part of the Magical Menagerie collection by MarroomyCrafts, Miriam. And what I showed you last month were Lanky Camel, Hazy Hen up here. Let me hold them closer so you can see. And then down here is Wonky Cat, and Funky Peacock is going in right here. And what I did this month is very little actually, but I started adding, I decided, so I had been wondering, you know, with the extra space that I have on either side of the 4 that I had started already, should I go ahead and add additional critters? Because there are 9 total in the collection. 8 have been released. So I had room for 4 more. I had started 4 and I had room for 4 more. So I was either going to create a separate piece of fabric with additional ones or add them to this. So I decided to add them. So I will put pictures up. I think I'm going to have to put pictures up because I don't have paper copies of these. But this border that I've started right here is about to be Prickly Ram, which is probably my favorite one in the collection. Oh no, this is Giddy Crabs. This is going to be Giddy Crabs. Over here is going to be Prickly Ram, who is my favorite. So Giddy Crabs, it's got a really pretty kind of these curly cues in the border. And then there are a few crabs. I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like. And then Prickly Ram, I just love. The minute I saw Prickly Ram, I thought that is my favorite in the whole collection. So Prickly Ram will go there. And then in this spot, this border that's coming in down here, isn't that such a pretty border? All these borders are so nice. This is it Perky Lion? I think Perky Lion. And you can see the lion's mane is coming in there. So that means I have 1 spot left, and I can't decide what to do yet because the latest release came out last week, and it's Zippy Dog, and Zippy Dog is so cute. I'll continue to put pictures up. And then there's 1 animal left in the collection. So I think what I will do, it's coming out soon. Miriam has been kind of teasing it. So I am going to wait and see what that last animal is, and then make a choice between Zippy Dog and that last one to put in this final spot that hasn't been used up. But I really love this this piece a lot, and I love the borders are just my favorite. So I love that with each new critter you get new borders. Am I showing you? Are you seeing? Yeah. So like on Perky Lion, that pretty border, and then Prickly Ram here, that beautiful border. So I'm stitching this on a fiber on a whim. It's 18 count wheat. Very pretty. It's a variegated, like slightly, not variegated, mottled fabric. And the flosses Silks for You PR 132, which is a variegated teal. And you can kind of see it. Let me see if I can show you, like in the lion's mane, it really comes out. Do you see how there's sort of like a deeper blue and then a brighter jewel toned blue? So I love that. That's been a really nice floss to stitch with. I love this fabric too, the Fiber on a Whim wheat. And I'm loving this whole collection. I can't wait to see what that last animal is, and I'm setting this aside to start it. I also want to stitch on this next month, and I won't have a plans section because I don't have major plans, but one of the ideas I did want to do is, besides seeing what the new critter is, I wanted to watch, Miriam had on her Instagram account, she had a link to or like information about a video. So these motifs are based on woven rugs from Iran. They're Persian rugs, and they're called gabe is the style. And there's a film called gabe. It's in I don't know what the lingo is on Instagram. Is it like Reels or something on one of Miriam's Reels on MarroomyCrafts on Instagram? There's a link to this movie called Gabe, and I think it's a fictional story. Yeah, it's a fictional story about a motif from a Persian rug that comes to life and tells its story. So I thought, ooh, that'd be great to watch and maybe like stitch on this, since that's kind of the inspiration for these motifs. Miriam has a Flosstube channel. I think if you watch me, you probably already watch her, so you know about it. If you're not sure, or you haven't seen her before, or this is new, I link everybody who I mentioned down below, so you can check out Miriam's Instagram and Flosstube. And Miriam's Flosstube is really good because she goes into some cultural connections about these motifs, which is really interesting. Miriam is Persian, so she's very familiar with the culture, and it has extra meaning, when she stitches it. And Miriam has been doing like regular end of month floss tubes, but then also these like little minis that come out every time a new pattern comes out. So she can talk specifically about that animal in each pattern. So that's been really nice. I like that. Okay, next up is my Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 Stitch Along. I actually worked on it. This is supposed to be one of my WhipGo pieces, but WhipGo I like stopped working on in June, and I've just been stitching what I want. So I don't know if this is all going to fit on one screen. Yeah, so here's what it's looking like. And this month is exciting because I finally made it down to the bottom. Deliberately, I wanted to get down. I just wanted to see what it would feel like to get down to the bottom border. So let me fold it up and show you. So this, actually, I'll show you in pieces because I haven't shown you this in a while. So this is the top. So this was in 2021, Modern Folk Embroidery had done their stitch along. So they released a part each month. So this is January right here, February, March, and then April, May, June is in the center here. And then July, August, September, and then October, November, December. So that part you're seeing on the bottom, I dipped down into November to do that bit. And I'm really hoping it all works out because this is not usually how I stitch. I prefer to just work in like chunks near other chunks, just kind of close by bits, because I'm so afraid that if I'm off, the count is off somewhere, then I would have to like redo a whole mess of things. So to reach down to the bottom like that is not very characteristic of me, I don't think, but I just was so excited to do it. And I did this whole negative stitching part this month. So once I did that, I thought, well, it's just so close to the bottom. Let me just go ahead and try it. So hopefully, now, like if I pick this up again this coming month, I do want to work in some more of these areas down at the bottom just to make sure that like my counting was correct. There. Yeah, so fabric I don't talk about. The floss is two different kinds. The kind of orangey brown is Threadworks. Ooh, I wrote down the 1042. It's Desert Sunset. So Threadworks has the numbers on them, and then you can look up the colors. And then up on the top section, you notice I'm using blue as an accent color, like on these. So that's DMC color variations. It's 4025, which is Caribbean blue. So it's coming along. I'm gonna see if I can hold it up one more time, the whole thing. It's just exciting to get down to the bottom. This is one of the biggest pieces I've worked on ever, so. Doesn't the orangey brown, doesn't that look really beautiful from back here? That's my favorite part. All that negative stitching in there, that's my favorite bit of it. I love that. So, just keep chipping away at that one, and we'll see how it comes along. Okay, next one. So what do I have? I have two that I'm putting under whips, even though they're technically restarts. I restarted a couple of projects this month, and that's, no, nothing. I was going to say something, but I'm not correct about it. This one is it upside down? Yes, it is. Let me hold it right side up. Okay, it looks like this. Am I going to be able to get it? Hang on just a second here. Let me see if I can do better I had it all folded up and then I unfolded it as I picked it up. There we go. Okay, so this is by Quiltify Design, and it's the All Souls Vierlanden. So Vierlanden is like a German folk style of stitching. I'm pretty sure, do you all know those videos that for a while Dorothy from Historische Stickmuster was doing? I think Caroline from Off the Grid Needle Arts might have been hosting her, and she had done like some history lessons on like Vierlanden stitching. So I think there might be a video out there talking about. She also did videos talking about like different kinds of silk floss. But anyway, I think she has videos talking about Vierlanden. If I can find them, I'll link them below if you're curious about what like the history of this type of stitching. But anyway, Benjamin at Quiltify Design took a traditional Vierlanden and just filled it with skulls, all kinds of different skull motifs, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere, all different sizes. It's such a surprise because sometimes you'll be stitching a motif and you won't even realize that what you're stitching is a skull until you look back at it. And I probably spent like maybe a week or so, maybe a little longer than a week on this month. And every night Steve and I would just spread it out and look at it because we just kept noticing skulls that we hadn't noticed before. I love it. I really love this pattern. And I'm so glad I restarted it and I just fell in love with my floss and fabric combo. Let me hold. I want to get a handle on it. I picked such a big piece of fabric. Okay, so this fabric is my very first piece of fabric from Needle and Flax, and it's called Pickwick. And it does look like kind of, I think Pickwick is it a reference to, is it Charles Dickens who wrote the Pickwick Papers? They were like these sort of gossipy pieces that were in a newspaper, like a weekly newspaper thing. And this kind of gives you sort of a newsprinty, like an inky kind of feel to it, like smeared ink almost. I would say it's like a neutral tone. It's got like beige, and the fabric is beige, but then it's got that kind of charcoal modeling all over it. It's awesome for Halloween stitching. It's so pretty. And it's a 40 count. This is one of the pieces I picked up at StitchCon, and I wanted to start it right away. So I have two pieces I'm going to show you today that are stitched on new fabrics from StitchCon. This is one of them. It just felt Halloween-y. Like when I saw it, I thought something Halloween-y is going to go on this. And when I was laying out different flosses to try with it, there's a floss I had been wanting to use for ages. Actually, Miriam uses a lot of this too. Do I have it here? Yeah. So it's a sulky. So this is a 40 count fabric, and I tend to stitch sulky, one strand on 40 count, and it's perfect coverage. Let me get in close and show you. I love it. I think like it doesn't leave any fabric showing. I like for all the stitches to be perfectly covered up. Like that large skull motif. Let me zoom in on him. There you go. There's absolutely no fabric showing. He's perfectly covered up. So I'm really, really happy with Sulky on 40 count. And the one I'm using is Sulky 1189. It's dark chestnut, and it's just the dreamiest red. It's really not red. It's kind of like a plum. It's almost like a red purple, like a plum purple. It is so pretty. And yeah, that's what it looks like, kind of like a wine color. I love it. So this is a Sulky 50-yard spool. They come in two kinds of, well, three kinds technically, because I think they come on like a huge spool too. But this is the 50-yard spool. See how it's kind of skinny? And then Sulky also comes in these 330-yard spools, which are these large ones. This is Biscuit Sulky 4040, which I used on my Moonlight Path pattern that I showed in my last video last month. So for dark chestnut, I had only 150-yard spool, and I actually used it. I used the whole thing this month to stitch just this section. So this bit right here, using only one strand over 2 on 40 count, that is one spool of Sulky. And I got all the way down. I even was able to do, there's a bottom border down here that I was able to get to all the way down here. So I thought I wouldn't be able to work on this for a while because I'm trying not to have any purchases for a little while. So I was going to hold off, on working on this. Then I remembered that I have a Sulky pack for one of the ink circles patterns that came out during Needlework Expo. There was a Sulky pack with beautiful reds and oranges in it. And I just said, well, let me look in there and see if there's a backup copy of this, because this kind of looks like an autumn color. And sure enough, there was an extra spool in there. So I'll be able to stitch on this again this month. I will see if I can put a picture up of the full Vierlanden pattern. It's just more of the same. It's just all these different tiny motifs, loose motifs with skulls kind of incorporated. And the pattern actually has like a full alphabet, like a typical sampler would. But I don't think I'm going to do, I don't really just do like A to Z alphabets. If there was an interesting phrase, I asked Steve's my partner. I talk about him a lot in my videos, and I show him my stitching a lot. I asked him to keep in mind if he could think of anything like a song lyric or a line from a poem or something that spoke to, skeletons or death or anything like that we would want to remember. Maybe I could stitch that. But right now I just have the border coming. Like if you compare it to the picture, I went ahead and just added a border all around here. And I think that's probably what I'll do. I won't be stitching that alphabet above it. So that's it. Quiltify Designs, All Souls Vierlanden. I can't wait to work on that again. Okay, next up is a pattern that I love. This is Trans Pride Tapestry by D's 20 Stitches. And it's on an 18 count Ada. It's Sweet Tea by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. And I'm using the called for DMC on it. And I love this pattern so much. D had put out, so this is, the design is by D's 20 Stitches, and it's based on artwork by Uncanny Kari. And D had put out kind of a catch-up floss tube, I think it was like a week ago or a couple weeks ago. So I got tons, I just pulled this out to stitch on while watching that. And that's a really important, I'm going to link that below. Actually, it's a really important video. Because there's like a section in there that's a recap of Stitch for Pride that I think is really important for all of us to watch and listen to. And it's like, I think it's something for us all to think about in terms of like coming together to support fellow Stitchers. I don't know. I thought it was a very moving and powerful message, and I feel like we should all listen to it and maybe plan together a little bit better next year for Stitch for Pride to coming together as a community. So I was stitching on this during that. It was super long. It was like an hour and a half floss tube, which I love. I love long floss tubes because I can just click play and get a lot of stitching done. So what did I do? I'm trying to do all of the outlines. So all of these motifs have outlines. I'll throw a picture in somewhere. And then it'll be really easy because all these get filled in. So I'm waiting to do the fill-ins at the end. So I worked this whole section right here. These motifs here I filled out. I really wanted to get to the bottom. I'm almost at the bottom. I have like one more motif that goes in here, I think. So I'm super close to the bottom. Yeah, so this is a fun one. Definitely will keep picking this one up. It's very satisfying. Each little outline that's completed is really, really nice. And then of course the unicorn's coming in too. So super happy about that one. Okay, I have one more restart, which is Autumn Quakers by Rosewood Manor. And I have started and restarted this a couple of times and never been happy because it uses Vierlanden. A lot of people are, first of all, lots of people are stitching on this and it looks beautiful every time I see it. I should have had the picture here to show you because I actually do have the pattern for it. I just don't have it here. Actually, I'm going to pause here and grab the patterns because it'll be easier for me to just show you a paper copy. Be right back. Okay, thank you for that little pause. So this is what the picture looks like. It's Autumn Quakers. You've probably seen this because tons and tons of people work on this. And I started thinking about it this month. It's in my whips. I have like a whole bunch of whips that I'd never work on that are in my basement. But I pulled this out because I'm pretty sure it's because I think it's EJ from Sunshine Stitchers in one of their videos this month was talking about how they had it kitted up and ready to go. And every time I look at this project, I think, just get back to it already. Like, I love it every time. For some reason, every time I've started it, I just haven't had that excitement about it. So I went for it one more time. I chose an Ada this time. No, well, last time was an Ada too, but I chose an 18 count Ada from my stash. And then I have both the three, so the flosses are Vierlanden, and I have a Vierlanden. This is a 6-stranded cotton to show you. Looks like this. And Vierlanden has letter code, like a letter and number combination code. Like this is 0505, and as well as a name. So it's Toffee, and then it's 0505. And then they have like a rate, like for this pattern, some of the threads had an O and a number, some had an M and a number, some had a P and a number, I think. I don't use them very often, so I don't know a whole lot about their naming conventions or anything like that. I am not a fan of Vierlanden. I'm using it on this project because it's way easier. The variegation is beautiful in Vierlanden threads, and it's very hard to replicate. So I didn't even want to mess with it. I often change colors, do my own color conversions, but on this, it was just hard to figure out because the threads were so variegated and there are so many color changes. So in order to get the same effect, I really just felt like might as well just go for the called for. But Vierlanden cotton comes in 6-stranded skeins like this, or it also comes in these rolled up balls of 3-stranded cotton. And when I stitch on 18 count Ada or 36 count linen or 20 count Ada or 40 count linen with like these 6-stranded things, not with sulky, I use 2 strands. So those wound up balls of the 3-stranded Vierlanden were really frustrating to me because I would separate out 2 strands and have that 1 strand left over. And because they're so highly variegated, it's not like you can take that 1 strand and go combine it with like the 1 strand from the next piece that you cut out. You know, it wouldn't match up. It would look muddied. So that was frustrating. So I'm sticking with the 6 strand because then I can pull out 2 strands at a time. And I can't believe this, but I think this is actually at a place where I'm really enjoying it, and it does really look pretty. So here's what it is. And I got to zoom into that. Isn't that leaf just so, so pretty? Let me get in closer. There we go. I mean, check that leaf right in the middle. So those are all, do you see how many color changes are in that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 6 different colors have gone in and out of that. But the end effect is so pretty. There's a little bit of variegation in these peachy acorns down here. The thread variegation is really beautiful on Vierlanden threads, I will say that. But the texture is a little weird too. Like when I pick up this 6-strand, it feels really rough. Like it almost feels to me like I'm picking up a skein of twine. Almost. It almost feels like twine. It's really kind of like a rough texture. Unlike I have a DMC that's right here. DMC has a little bit of a poof to it and also like a sheen to it. That's just different. So I don't know. I don't know. I will use it for this project, but I'm not sure it's like going to be my go-to, threads. I'm on a sulky kick now anyway. So between DMC and sulky, I think I'm pretty much covered for my cotton threads. Anyway, I really enjoy what this looks like. So this, you are seeing here, like the stretch of the top half. So this triangle up here, that's the farthest on that side. That's the top corner. And then when I finish out this motif right here, like this line going up here and ending right where my finger is here, that's the top corner. So it's actually really, the width is not very wide at all. Like that's my hand. So it's just a little bit wider than my hand, but it's very long. So see, I'm only in this like very top part here. So it has quite a ways to go. It'll be really long, kind of like my Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 stitch along. It'll be really long. So anyway, I'm glad I picked this up. There's another leaf coming in there. Isn't that pretty too? That's going to be variegated too. So I was, I don't know what was going on. Like the motifs I was starting with, like on one version, I started in the center. So I think I started with these acorns, like this viney acorn here. And that was, I don't know, I wasn't super excited about it when I had stitched it at the time. And then my original version, I had stitched this motif here at first, and I wasn't super excited about that. But these two motifs here, I absolutely love. Like that sort of, this loopy kind of motif here, and those reds and oranges. I love that. And then the leaf, of course, I really love too. So I'm finally at a place where I like this. Oh, the fabric is Color and Cotton. It's aged paper, which I think now is like one of their standard ones that they're selling to shops and things. Yeah, it's a good neutral. I like it. And 2 strands is pretty good. I'm getting good coverage. So again, that's Autumn Quakers, and it's by Rosewood Manor. And I like it. Okay, those were all my whips, I think. Let me just make sure. I mean, I've been spending a lot of time on each project, so I really don't have as much to show you as I normally would. Normally, I switch out projects like every 3 days, so then by the end of the month, I have like so many things to show. These are all big projects, but I spent a lot more time on them. So, yeah, those are all my whips. Let me grab, I have 1, 2, 3 new starts to show you, so I'm just going to pick those up. Be right back. Okay, so I've got 3 new starts to show you. Each one has been so super fun to work on, and let me just get to it. Okay, this was, well, all of these new starts were totally unexpected, but this one too. So this is, I'll put a picture up. It's Moche Iconography, and it's by PeruvianFlair. Ana Aguayo is the designer. And Ana, if you don't know Ana at PeruvianFlair, she's just like an outstanding person. She's just one of the sweetest people around and an awesome designer. And Ana's from Peru, and she does research on pre-Columbian cultural groups that lived in Peru. And her cross-stitch designs are inspired by motifs from artifacts, textiles, any kind of icons that have been found related to those cultures. So this is from the Moche culture, which I looked up. They were in northern Peru. I want to say they were on like a northern coast of Peru. I have to check my geography. My geography of South America and Asia are both really bad. I had a comment on last week's video about, I'm stitching kain kapal, which is that Indonesian pattern, and I totally mixed up Java and Sumatra. They're like 2 different islands. So like the designer is Java cross stitch, is Era from Java cross stitch. but the Kind Kapal and Era are from Sumatra, which is like a neighboring island. So Anna's gonna have to correct me on my geography on this because I think I might be wrong. I don't even know if Peru has a coast. I need to check on that. But I think the Moche peoples, what I read was that they were a northern coast people. And this pattern, Anna has a little description in the pattern that says that the motifs are related to earth and water. So you'll probably see it on the picture I put up, but it does look like there are kind of these wave motifs on the bottom. And I'm guessing everything else is related to like earth kind of motifs. So why did I pick this up? Because I was at a thrift store with a friend of mine, a new thrift store that I hadn't tried before, and it had the best crafts section that I've ever been to. I go to thrift stores a lot. I love thrift stores. And of course, like you, I think a lot of you also like you make a beeline for the craft items and then for like the wood and frames for finishing, right? We all do that. So this craft section was amazing because they had like very organized bins. Like they actually had an Aida, like a cross stitch fabric bin with pieces of Aida in it. I didn't pick any up because I have so much and somebody else could use that, you know? They had a whole bin of like rickrack and edging kind of things. They had all sorts of stuff. So off to the side, they had an enormous bin full of like cast off upholstery samples, which is what this is, which is why it has these like, this probably hung from like a binder or some kind of display thing. And I looked at it closely and I kind of held it up to the light and I thought, this thing has squares on it. I could stitch on this. So that's what I did. And it's kind of a drab looking fabric. So immediately I thought, well, I want to stitch something bright on this. So of course I went to Anna because Anna provides multiple colorways in her patterns and there's always like a super bright one. So here's the start to it. So this edge right here, like this is as far as it will go on this edge. And then this purple right here is the center. So this distance right here will be replicated here. And this white bit you're seeing here is, I just ripped off the tag. So this is what the tag looked like. So it's a polyester acrylic and it was 25, it truly was 25 cents. I only paid 25 cents for this fabric. I got this one and I got like a couple more pieces. And I held them all up to the light and you could very easily see the weave, like the weave made it very easy to see the squares. So I said yes. And I actually measured, so I measured it out 1 inch and counted the number of stitches in 1 inch. It was 11 stitches because it's a really thick weaving. So it's basically an 11 count fabric. And what I'm using on this is 2 strands of sulky. 2 strands of sulky doubled up. And then that's what I've been stitching with. And the colors, do I have them here? I have a pretty decent stash of sulky now because every time I have wanted to kit something up in sulky or like get solid colors to do something in sulky, like for example, a couple videos ago, or maybe even last video, I was showing you my 2x2 stitch art, my Ukrainian piece by Ukrainian designer Ilona from 2x2 Stitch. I needed blues and yellows for that piece. So way back when I got sulkies for that, I just picked up a whole bunch of blues and yellows, right? So now I have a whole bunch of blues and yellows and I'm only using 4 for that piece. So I have a bunch left over. So like this bright yellow, I think that's going to go great. It's super bright. I'm choosing kind of bright tones to like brighten up this drab fabric. So I think this yellow will be perfect for that. This is 1124. It's basically like a canary yellow, but I'm not sure what the official name is. This orangey tone that's over here, I'm pretty sure the name of it is cinnamon. It's 0568. So it's this kind of very bright coppery orange. And then the pink actually, I want it to be even more shocking pink. So I may take this out. The only thing is I don't have a sulky that's a shocking pink because I don't have the whole sulky collection. I have a bunch, but I don't have one. So I may switch it up to DMC and I have no idea how many strands of DMC it would take to cover an 11 count, but I could play around with that. But I know I have some like very shocking kind of hot pink pinks in DMC. So I may take that out or I may stitch like the other half of it in DMC and just see how it looks. and then decide. But this is the pink that I used. It's almost like a salmon pink. 1081. I might have written down this. Oh, 1081. Actually, the name of this color is brick, but to me it looks like a salmon pink. It doesn't look like a brick. And then the purple is Sulky 1112. It's just a bright jewel toned purple. Really nice purple. And if you want to compare it, like, I think like some of you really like DMC 550. Like, I love DMC 550 is one of my favorite colors. This sort of, it's a much brighter purple. This is what I was going to do, hold them up together. But on my camera, they probably won't show, but kind of. See how the Sulky is just like a little bit more deeper and dull? And the DMC 550 is much more vibrant and lively. This, I would say, is almost like a grape, if you want to call it that. And this is more like a blackberry or something like that. It's a deeper tone. They're both really pretty. So definitely keep that going. The other nice thing about Anna's patterns is that they're not very long. On this one, I want to say both edges are less than 90 stitches. It's less than 90 by 90. So they work up really, really quick. This was just like 2 hours or something. It stitched up so fast. It felt weird to be using 2 strands of Sulky because Sulky is already very, very thick. It's a 12 weight cotton. So it's kind of like, DMC has a pearl cotton, and one of those comes, I think that comes in like an 8 weight, but it comes in a 12 weight, much thicker. So Sulky's like that too. So it's super weird to do like doubled up like that, but it looks good. And it's very colorful. I like that. Okay. Next new start was so my Quiltify design, my All Souls Vierlanden with the skulls on it. I restarted that one because I really, really wanted to do something with that 40 count fabric that I picked up at StitchCon. And I have another fabric too that I picked up at StitchCon, and I knew right away what I wanted to do on it. So I started Hello from Liz Matthews Quaker Pumpkins. And this is so exciting. Okay. This is another one just like Autumn Quakers by Rosewood Manor. Every time I look at everybody stitching this, I just think I have to stitch that one because I love these pumpkins. I love all the oranges. I love stitching with yellows and oranges. They're just about some of my favorite colors. So what I had done, like I do when I'm kitting up projects. Okay, fabric first. This fabric I got at StitchCon, and it's a Mystic Fabrics, and it's called All the Things. And it's really, really pretty. It's got nice modeling all over it. It's a really nice neutral. I love it so far. I love working with this. And so it's 40 count. And I deliberately picked 40 count fabrics at StitchCon because I don't have many in my stash. I usually stitch an 18 count Aida or 36 count linen. But since I've been stitching more with Sulky, I really like the way Sulky looks on 40 count linen. When I've tried it on 36 count linen, I know a lot of people love Sulky on 18 count Aida and 36 count linen. For me, it was way too much fabric poking through. So it's much better on 40 count for me. So I picked up 40 counts with the intention that I would use Sulky with them. And then I had a bunch of oranges. Why did I need oranges? I don't remember why. Oh, maybe because I was trying out different colors. My Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along way back when I started in 2021 when I started it. I have seriously done like 4 or 5 versions of that when I restarted it so many times. And one of the versions I think I was trying with different kinds of Sulky oranges because my original version was with Sulky. And so at that time, I think I picked up a whole bunch of oranges. And Sulky is great because they have, if you look out, I don't sign up for the newsletter or anything, but I just kind of look once in a while at their website. They will have sales where you can get the spools like for 35% off. They have a really good sale. So you can just wait for those. I know some people, if you check out Matt, MBC Stitcher, but I don't remember which video it was. It's been a while now. He got the whole like you can get a whole case of the whole collection of Sulkies. And I know he got it through Target or through his like Cartwheel app or something. he was able to get a really good price on that too, but you'd have to check his, I'll link him below and you can check him out too. And talk to Miriam, because Miriam, almost everything Miriam stitches, she converts to sulky. So you could probably ask her about that too. But I wait for the sales, and I get like, for that modern folk embroidery piece, I knew I was going to stitch with oranges. So I can't always tell. Sulky's photographs on their website, I find that they're not very accurate. Like when you receive the spool in the mail, it doesn't exactly match what's in the picture. So it's better, like if I needed yellows, I order a bunch of yellows. If I needed blues, I order a bunch of blues. So I have these like pockets of color. I have like a bunch of greens and then a bunch of oranges and a bunch of reds, so that you can look at them in person and see what they're like. So then that's what I did here. And I did not use I didn't really do a color conversion, but what I did is I looked at the picture, which I will try to throw up somewhere here. And I just tried to match tone. So when I looked at the picture of the finished item on the pattern, it seemed to me like the pumpkin in the middle had a very bright orange, like a medium toned bright orange. So then that's what I went. I chose a sulky that had kind of that color to it. Let me see if I have it here. Is this the one? Yeah, I think it's 1833, that middle orange, which is pumpkin pie is the color. So that bright orange in the middle. So then I did the same thing. I just looked at each pumpkin in the picture and I thought, okay, well, the motif next to that goes way, way lighter. So then I chose colors that were way lighter. And then the motif next to that gets this one had much deeper tones. Then I went for a dark orange on that. And then here it was back to a medium tone, but kind of more pink. So then I chose more coral colored for that. And then, so I have a palette of like 4 or 5 colors. And I think that will do just fine. This kind of dark, ranging from this dark orange here to these more medium oranges to more corals. And like, this is sort of like a red orange / corally mix there. So that's kind of what I'm using. For the browns, I have 2 browns. The lettering right here is a color that's called Almost Black. I have it here. It's actually just a deep, deep, deep shade of brown. Very pretty shade of brown. 1234. Yeah, it's called Almost Black. And then the little stems on the pumpkins, I went for medium taupe is the color. So they just are ever so slightly light, much lighter than that Almost Black at the bottom. So that's it. It's really fun to stitch on, and it's stitched up so quick. I mean, I started this month, so I did all of this month. It's super fast. There are a lot of repetitive motifs, so once you get the hang of one, it's very easy to add other bits. That's fun. It would be really fun. I don't usually put pressure on myself to finish things within a certain time frame or anything. But with Halloween coming up, it'd be really fun to have this. We do a little display out on our front porch, so it'd be nice to be able to put that up as part of our decorations. So we'll see. Okay, last one to show you is another new start, and I'm so excited about this one. Okay, so the pattern is, wait, did I tell you everything about this? Yeah, okay. So this is my very first Teresa Kogut. So I have a few, Teresa Kogut is a designer for Creative Whims, and I have a few patterns in my stash from Creative Whims. And this one I loved because of all these garden motifs. I just love kind of garden, floral, botanical kind of motifs. That huge flower, this huge flower over here, and that moth, tons of birds. There's usually some like religious symbolism in them. That's not really my thing, but the rest of the motifs I think are really beautiful. But when I saw this was this might have been an expo release from last year, maybe, or a market. I get the two confused, Nashville Market and Needlework Expo. I think it was a release for one of those. And I picked it up thinking right away, these motifs are lovely, but I would like to do them in blues or purples and make it sort of a night garden kind of theme. And I've never pulled it out to work on a color conversion before because it's just so many colors. And hang on, let me count. I have the color. There's a list of colors back here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 17 colors. And so many color changes. So I never really thought, and that takes time. I do a lot of color conversions, but it really does take time and research, especially when you don't have the threads in front of me. Like some of these called for are, a couple of them are a brand I don't use. A couple of them are classic colorworks, but colors that I didn't have. A couple of them are gentle arts, but they're colors I didn't have. So like when you don't have the colors in front of you, it's much harder, right? You're using like a variety of pictures online and trying to get an idea of what that color is, and then you're converting it. So I put it off. That just seemed like a lot of work. But I had time this month, so I said, let's just do it. So let me just show you what I have so far. I'm totally, totally in love with this. So here's what we've got so far. You can kind of see at the bottom, I was working on that moth this morning, so you can see a little bit of the moth wing there in the body. And then the angel motif that's at the top, I'm pretty sure it's an angel motif. I just kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool to make it some sort of like moon figure, some celestial or moon figure of some kind? So I decided to change the hair color on there to something kind of a little bit outrageous, but and shocking. And I don't know, I just loved it. It's that DMC 791 that's so pretty, kind of like a deep, I have it here. It's like a deep ultraviolet almost. It's a really lovely color, this one. The official color is cornflower blue. And you know, in certain lights, it looks kind of like a purple, like a bluish purple. So pretty. So there's what I've got so far, and I just love it. I love that there's so many pretty motifs. Like, I like this flower right here at the top. Of course, the celestial figure there. I love all the filled in, like that kind of tulipy flower. There's a bird coming in off to the side. These I don't know what kind of flower. What would you say these are? Like lilies of some kind, maybe? Those are beautiful. Each one is sort of precious in its own way. That moth I love. It's been really fun to work on. So I would say if you're feeling adventurous and you want to try a color conversion, just go for it. And here's how I did it. I wrote out a list of each of the colors. Typed up a list of each of the called for colors. And I looked up a picture of each of the called for colors online. I wanted to see what they looked like. And then I started with the reds because I knew right away I want all the reds to become blues and purples. And there are really only like 3 reds in this whole pattern. The majority of the colors are grays and browns. So most of it is neutral colors, not really the brighter tones. But anyway, so I matched on tone once again, kind of like I did with Quaker pumpkins. So for example, I took, like, there's one shade of red that I would say is sort of like an average red, like a medium red, right? It's not like a burgundy and it's not like a salmony pink. It was just like a cherry red. So for that one, I said, well, let me choose a medium blue to go with that. So that's when I chose this 791. It's kind of a middle of the run blue, not too dark like a 939. You know, DMC 939, this ultra dark blue. That one I chose to replace the ultra dark red that was called for. And then that's kind of what I did. And then there was sort of a pale red and a pale kind of pinky red. So then I replaced that with a pale blue. So I decided to match tones because then I knew, okay, if a motif is calling for the medium red, it might be because it's stitched with lighter colors. So I don't want to replace a medium toned color with a dark or light toned color, you know, because it might throw off the balance of tones in the motifs. So that's how I approached it. And then the other thing I did was I changed a little bit, like I had mentioned there's so many called for colors that were in the brown or gray families, neutrally kind of tones. So I made some color choices there, but again, kept the tones. So for example, one of the colors that's called for is like almost a silvery gray. Well, I replaced that with DMC 317 here, which is kind of a silvery purple. It's a lilac. It may not come through on my computer, but this up here is, what's the official color? I don't remember what 317 is officially called, but it's just the palest of purples. So I kept the same tone, but I changed the color on that one. And then the other thing I'm doing is, so each of the called for colors has a symbol assigned to it, right? So I look up when I'm stitching, let's say it's a triangle. I'll look up what the original color, charted for color was for that, and then I'll look at my conversion to what I converted it to. I listed in my Google Doc. I have all the original colors and then all what I chose for the conversions. And then I'll look at what it's supposed to look like in the picture. And I'll kind of make a decision. Do I want to keep the color that I converted it to, or do I want to change it up? So for example, in this figure right here, the called for color in the hair is like a brown, a shade of brown, and my conversion kept that brown. It was also a brown converted color. It was one of these browns up here. But when I was stitching it, I thought, no, we need to do something crazy with, kind of wild and adventurous with her hair. Or their hair. So I went for this blue and it was just right. I think it's kind of the unique effect I was going for. So I'm kind of making choices along the way too. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Like this, I don't know if it's a butterfly or a moth. It's really probably a moth. But that when I'm stitching with my converted color, like the colors that I converted to, I'm keeping them pretty much. So the balance of tones, I think, is working. Like the dark tones are still dark. The light and medium tones are still light and medium. That way you can still kind of distinguish amongst all of the colors. I think it's working. So yay, I love that one. And I'll definitely keep up with this one. So it's pretty big. I mean, so here's the moth, right? Oh, the bottom of the moth is kind of the halfway point. So I've worked my way down here, but I haven't really finished every motif along the way just because I get so excited to try different motifs. So anyway, that's what that one's turning out like, and I'm pretty happy with how it's going. And do you know what? We're at the end because I don't really have any plans for next month because I'm starting school again. I've already been doing school. I've been in school mode this month anyway, going to workshops, getting curriculum together. I've been working on school stuff. So my brain's halfway back at school anyway. So next month school starts. So I don't really, and I barely make set plans anyway. If you know me, you know that. So I'll just stitch whatever comes, whatever I feel I want to stitch on. Right after this, I think I'm going to go, what should I stitch? I think I'm probably going to continue with this just because I've been so excited about it. So I'll do a little bit more on this, get this video up, and then I guess I will check back in with you in a month. I hope everyone's doing okay. Thank you for leaving comments. I'm behind on getting back on comments, so thank you for your being patient with me on that. I still need to get back to some of you, but I really love it when you reach out, either here or on Instagram. I love talking cross stitch with you and connecting over our love of this hobby. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and I'll check in with you soon. Bye.